So you have discovered that you are codependent, and you are now aware of the fact that you are unhealthily affected by other people and that your relationships are not healthy, or at least one of your relationships is not healthy. And that what other people do, you react to intensely and it affects you. So, what can you do? Well, it is not something that you overcome in just a few days. It is something that you purpose to overcome by just getting healthy, healthy in a relationship or healthy in your entire life. So, there are some steps that you can begin taking. And the first one is if you've been codependent for a good part of your life, if you grew up in a home with a dysfunctional family, as I did, you focused on taking care of your parents, your siblings, a parent, you probably didn't develop a self strongly enough. You are so used to focusing on other people. So, or if you've been in a relationship for many years in a difficult marriage and you've just focused on raising your kids and being a wife or being a husband, and then now you're recognizing, boy, I never really figured out who I am, and maybe empty nest or a divorce is forcing you to look at this. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to do some self-discovery. Who are you? What do you like? What do you want? What do you need? What are your passions? What are your talents? What are your things that just, I remember one woman telling me that it was just a huge decision to go into a store and pick out a pot for a plant, because she hadn't been allowed to do that in her marriage. And that it was just a what pot. I remember another woman telling me in the cracker aisle, she was like, I don't know what crackers I like. I only know what crackers they like, meaning her whole family. So, I mean, this can go anywhere from, extreme to just, I've really got to figure out who I want to be after this divorce, or who I want to be now that my children are gone. So, self-discovery, just start asking yourself, what do I like? What do I not like? What makes me feel good? What makes me not feel good? What makes me feel happy? What makes me feel joy? What do I want to go back and do again after I've done it? This is how you do self-discovery. And it is a journey of just learning about you. The next one is self-validate. You have to learn to validate yourself. Now, that is also a process. And by validate, it means that you're saying what I think, feel, believe is true for me. Now, what has happened when you're codependent is your feelings, your thoughts, your desires, your needs, your perceptions, your beliefs, they're invalidated. They're invalidated in that home you grew up in, as it was in mine. They're invalidated by a difficult person that you're involved with in a relationship, as I was with my husband, who told me that what I thought and felt was crazy and didn't matter and was distorted. I was primed to believe that from the fact that I was raised in that dysfunctional home, where my perceptions of this is not right, Mom, with seeing my alcoholic father who was abusive with her, were told that it's okay, God's going to take care of us, so they were discounted. So self-validating is, for some reason, you don't believe yourself. You allow other people to make you doubt yourself. You allow other people's opinions and thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions to be more important than yours. And so you believe them over you. So you've got to learn to self-validate. And how do you do that? So the first thing that you do is that you start to say, well, what do I think? What did I perceive? What did I see? And then you can go and how did I feel about that? And then you can go to somebody else that you trust. It can be a mentor, it can be a counselor, it can be somebody in a support group, and say, hey, this is what happened. I did this under this circumstance, and this is what I felt. Does that seem crazy to you, or does that seem reasonable? So you go to somebody healthy and you ask that person to validate your perceptions. Yeah, that seemed kind of reasonable. I would be mad about that too. That would have bothered me. I would have thought the same thing. Then you start to build up trust in yourself. Trust where you can begin to start to trust and validate your own self. Like, yeah, I saw that. Mine was so bad in my difficult marriage that my first Al-Anon sponsor said to me, if your husband told you that your hair was black, you would go to the mirror and look to see if it was black. Now, my hair has always been blonde. Okay, so I said to her, you're right. That's how bad it was. Now today, I would laugh if somebody told me my hair was black, and I would literally give no credence to that whatsoever. So you can go from the place of being invalidated and not being able to self-validate to being able to self-validate. Does that mean you're always right? No. Okay, sometimes well, this doesn't feel right to me, or maybe I'm a little blinded in this area. Yeah, you get to know yourself pretty well. You can go ask somebody, does this make sense? Did I overreact? Absolutely. But believing yourself and knowing that you can trust yourself is really important. That is self-validating. The next one is to do self-care. Codependents are really bad at self-care. They are good at taking care of other people. They are good at being caregivers. They are good about worrying about other people, worrying about other people are doing, trying to get other people to change, they're just doing all of that. They're not good at self-care. They're good at ignoring their own needs, ignoring their own care, ignoring what they need to do to be healthy themselves. Self-care is all about self-nurture. What do you need to be healthy yourself? It's putting that oxygen mask on yourself first on the plane before the dependent person sitting next to you. Because if you don't have the mask, you can't take care of this other person, even if that person does survive the plane problem. So it is learning to do self-care, learning to do healthy self-care, which is super important. Scripturally, self-care is absolutely mandated. It is not selfish, because in Ephesians 5:29, Paul told husbands, this is the way you take care of your wife. This is the way you love her. You love her like you care for your own body. You just take care of her like you care for her own body, because after all, no one neglects their own body, but they feed it and care for it. Nobody does that. That's normal. He said, hey, this is so normal that you just need to do the same for your wife, and that will be loving her. So self-care is super scriptural. Okay. So self-care. And then the last one is self-focus. Codependents are super other-focused. They're focused on other people's needs, other people's wants, other people's beliefs, other people's actions. If somebody in a codependent, if you're a codependent in a relationship and there's somebody mad at you, the tendency is to be so focused on why that person is mad at you and getting that person to not be mad at you that you stop doing what you are doing for you. You stop moving forward. You don't go to work that day. You don't go out with your friends like you were planning to go out. You stay home and you try to get this person to not be mad at you because you're so consumed with this other person and the other person being mad at you. That's how I used to be. I could not handle my husband mad at me. I did everything I could to try to change him to not be mad at me, to explain and to rationalize and to get mad and to argue about it and just try to change it and not be able to just say, hey, if you're mad, that's your problem, like figure it out and just go on with my life, which is what I can do today. Okay, I care. If he wants to come talk to me about it, I'll have a conversation, but I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing because somebody gets mad at me. They've got to deal with their own feelings. Each person has to handle their own stuff. And, you know, sometimes people are mad because they're in a bad mood. They got to own that mood, right? So, and I've got a great video on detaching from moods. If that at all rang true with you, you need to watch that. So, okay, so you got to switch the focus onto yourself, off of other people. It's not on your drug addicted child. That child has a right to make that choice and that journey. You've got to live in spite of that. You've got to live a full, rewarding, happy life, even though people that you care about that are literally even your own children are making choices that are devastating. That is curing codependency. It's not that you don't care, you do. It's that you recognize that you can't force them to do what you need them to do. You can't force them to change. And if they're going to continue to do what they're doing, you have a right to live a happy, fulfilled life. Not only a right, but a responsibility to use the gifts that God has given you and to use your life wisely. So these are the 4 things you can focus on to cure codependency. And all of my books and courses are about getting over codependency, about being able to be healthy in the midst of relationships with difficult people. All of my videos, all of my posts, all my devotions, all my books, including the new one I have coming out that is coming out in November of 2020 on 365-day devotional for Christians in difficult relationships. You are going to work on self-discovery, self-validation, self-care, and self-focus. Now, the scripture, 2 Timothy 1:5-7 says, "For this very reason, make every effort to add to your faith goodness, and to goodness knowledge, and to knowledge self-control, and to self-control perseverance, and to perseverance godliness, and to godliness brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness love." Okay, curing codependency and getting healthy is a progression. It takes time, but it is doable 100%. I know, because I used to be incredibly codependent with all of my relationships, in any of my difficult relationships, and I am not now. I know how to make healthy choices. Okay, so I look forward to hearing from you through emails, through comments on this video, through checking out my website, maybe even taking one of my courses. And so God bless, and thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.